start by saying that the shaman never wins. The shaman only survives. And in the last 3 years that I've had the privilege of hosting hundreds, at least 300, it could be 500, I'm not sure, but at least 300 witness ceremonies with people here around the world. Sometimes in person, sometimes through electronic means, but a dedicated ceremony where people confronted themselves before the witness of others. And that these tales are chronicles of compassion. They're not meant to represent a factual truth, but to showcase the flowering of consciousness. If you find yourself angry at anyone in this video, or any of these videos in this series, you really owe it to them to thank them in the comments, because they gave you an opportunity to recognize just how far you've grown. And one of the people who helped me see how far I've grown recently came by to try and light a bag of poop on fire and, leave it on my page. And it's a common occurrence, and I've been told that the proper response is to ignore these things and grow hard to them and accept the idea that if I want to put on a show and talk about deeper things, that I'm going to have a more keratin or a stiffer exterior. And I just don't really want to compromise on that, because I don't know how my work flows when I squeeze like that. And so the comment that was dropped was, it's funny because they actually deleted it, and I think they deleted their comment because of my snarky reply, and I'll tell you that, but I wish I could show you a screen capture. They deleted it, and I just didn't really feel like looking. It could be that it's somewhere, but the point is that the comment was something to the effect of, James, I see you're still here trying to cling to your relevance. And I recognize the icon as someone who used to be in dojo and carries a pirate flag, where we all decided that we were going to adopt pirate flags one day. And this person just never changed their icon, and they have next to their icon, they're a YouTube member, where it says they're a giant, and the giant means that they believe in me. And so here is a comment of someone who used to believe in me, telling me that I'm irrelevant. And he's telling me I'm irrelevant like 4 hours after I post a new video, and I haven't posted a video in a long time. And so being snarky, because I didn't feel like having any compassion for that, or you could even call this compassion, I said, pro tip, wait at least 8 hours before commenting on how irrelevant I am. And if I had to guess who that was, I think it would be this guy named Adam. And I'm going to talk about Adam the exact same way I'm talking about Matt, the exact same way. I'm going to share with you these different people, because I think they're beautiful flowers, and I think it helps to understand them. The first time I met Adam, he was coming off of crystal meth. And I'm sorry to tell you that it's not because he was an addict. I think he was just, it was the day before a gathering where he was getting ready to meet a bunch of people that he'd been talking to online, and he just decided, hey, I'm going to do some crystal meth. And I just decided that that's the way to, sharpen his posture and come to meet people. And when I met him energetically, I was like, oh, I do not have a crystal meth censor. I'm only telling you this because Adam and I spoke about it later. And I think the only reason why we spoke about it later is because I told him that there was something very weird about his energy. His energy was so weird that I had to watch his demeanor in a replay and focus just on him and his camera with another friend of mine, because I asked their objective opinion to tell me that I was just being paranoid, because the jittering was something that gave me concern. I'll just say that. I'm kind of embarrassed about what I thought he was doing. And I realized that if I felt this way about this person and I don't tell him, am I really helping him out? Am I really being his friend? And I think this is part of what if I could cling to the excuse of autistic, and I don't have a diagnosis. I don't even consider myself that way. However, I think as an analogy, I do think it explains that when you have a shamanistic mindset, you are under the impression that the things that you are doing are constructive, and that those constructive things that you do and that you say are meant to come from you, because the people that ask them from you will hit you with a stick until you spit out these little berries. And you learn this as a young child climbing Mount Relevance. You learn this the hard way. You do not learn this because you're noble or because you're brave. You learn this because you're stubborn and you know you cannot survive on anything less. And this is why it's a chronicle, because when you meet someone like Adam and you think that you're a shaman or you're trying to have that approach, your first approach might be love and light. I got to get this guy out of my field. There's no way he could be here. And when you do that, which I've done that before, you regret it because you find yourself feeling like you're not genuine. And so you're like, how can I accept this person for who he is, but also have them in my field? And unless you have a job like mine where you attract people, you don't even ever have to face this. So it's a gift of this role that I serve, which is why I'm so bold to claim this word shaman as part of what I do. There's a vulcanized gravity that brings this kind of thing into me, and it forces me to have to find the most compassionate way to deal with Adam. And I do not mean compassionate in the way that you might think I mean, unless, of course, you've read my books or understand that word, that it's more of a radar, it's more of a sonar. It's not a permission slip, it's not diplomatic immunity, it sure as fuck isn't consent. The compassion is you protecting yourself by sensing exactly the emotional age, exactly their hands on the reins. That you're on the prairie in colonial America and you're meeting someone for the very first time, and the only data that you have is how tightly they're gripping the reins. And that gives you everything. And that the words that might come out of their mouth are meaningless because your instincts saw them gripping the reins. And the doubting in my head, and it's not even doubting, it's more of like the laziness in my head says, how dare you judge another man, leave him alone. And I'm just saying, guys, I'm just so well past that, because I feel responsible for everyone that Adam touches energetically underneath this plasma tent that's been erected under my name. And to hold me both where I have to be magnanimously powerless, but also feeling so responsible for what happens is a difficult thing. I've watched two people be dragged out to... you're going to think I'm making this up. I've watched two people be dragged out into the desert against their free will simply because they were led by the stories of a man who wasn't stable. And that man who wasn't stable was utilizing the shelter of my name. And that it would look quite easily look like I was condoning him, because I was not being responsible for the ripples. It's true. This is at the heart of patriarchy, and the reason why patriarchy has such a shitty name is actually more having to do with men than women, believe it or not, because men are noticing that, well, fuck, if as the patriarch, I'm responsible for everyone's ripple that's underneath my tent. And the answer is, yeah, that's why it's hard. This is why it's hard. This is why it's hard. And this, of course, isn't just for men, but the analogy in the mythology is just pure that way. So I'll stick with it. Forgive me. So getting way off track here, we'll bring it back to Adam. I said, Adam, you feel creepy to me. And that might seem evil, that might seem gross, that might seem sick. And it worked because Adam said, well, I did meth. And I was like, okay. And I walked him through the process because I wanted to know what he was thinking. And I determined that either one of two things: either Adam's just a complete idiot, which honestly, I'm still on the fence about that. But then I wasn't, because I don't want to think that way about anyone. But the other option is that he was so nervous about being around people that he did something stupid. That's all. And it's not even stupid. He did something brave. He showed up to a place that he was not equipped to show up to energetically, and the only way he could finish the journey was to take crystal meth. And God bless him, man. That shows you the chronicle of humanity, and you might feel that I'm ridiculing you, but I want you to know that this is how far Adam was willing to go to find connection, to find other humanity. And people struggle with, people who have, I believe that people have struggled with Adam's potency. And I've told Adam that I believe that the crystal meth you did is a simple way of just deteriorating your potency, and it just takes a while to build up that charge. And the amount of time it takes is directly congruent to, it's a factor of posture over, I'm making this up, of course, but posture is P, multiplied by the square root of your self-worth, divided by time, over the constant of your epigenetics and wisdom, divided by the ancestral trauma, right? And that you cover that and you get a quotient and you plot that X, Y, and you end up with Adam, and it's beautiful. There's a sine wave there. He's waving at us right now because he's saying, look at where I am. Look at where I am. And we find these people everywhere. And so you agree to pace people like Adam. I agreed to pace him. And I think that if I did well enough, if I did a good enough job, Adam would do very much the same thing that Matt did. He would suddenly be insulted that I was pacing him. Do you see? And this is the shaman part. If you're not on a shaman journey, you're going to like, what are you talking about? But if you're on a shaman journey, you're like, wait, what did you just say? Yeah. Yeah, you hear it. And you never knew this was progress, did you? You never knew that these people leaving you was progress. You never knew that the first sign of disrespect is the first sign of strength. And now you've just opened a wormhole into this bag of holding, and there's a bunch of calories there for you that are yours, that you get to keep. And you've unlocked them because you notice that this person has outgrown you precisely because of how you pruned them when they were under your wing. And they use your belly to kick off. And they wipe their feet along the way. And it's the only way they can, because if they do not disrespect you If they do not add a little bit of shame and tinge into that taste, they're not going to be able to make it out there alone. And right now, Adam's struggling. Adam is struggling because he's trying to fit in with that old group, but that old group doesn't have a patriarch like me. And that old group isn't giving him that same kind of structure that he needs. So what does he do? He wanders out of the palisades of what he thought was going to protect him. And he comes back here. And the only way he can get attention is to throw rocks. And you, the shaman, understand that you have made it to the top of Mount Relevance because someone like Adam is out there throwing rocks at your door, screaming how irrelevant you must be. These are beautiful people. And when they're throwing rocks at you, you don't get to take that away. That's why we're here. In closing, I have 2.5 million views. And I don't think that's a lot. And I want you to know that it took me 2.5 million views before someone would finally call me irrelevant. That's how long it takes. See you next time.